All right, Justin. We started off the roaring reactions with a little bit of Christmas talk. I'm going to start it off
Mhm.
running through the jungle with a little bit of Christmas talk. Did you get everything that you wanted for Christmas?
I did. I actually did. And one of my favorite gifts that I got, and I've been looking forward to this is how you know you're getting old because you look into like the grown-up gifts, was a griddle.
Ooh, all right. I'm into that.
Look, everybody got a flat top griddle, so that way they can cook on the cook like different breakfast items and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to cook Philly cheesesteaks on that thing. That's going
Absolutely.
to be the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to. But that was my ultimate favorite gift that I
I,
received.
I may or may not have bought myself a Blackstone. Um,
Hmm.
no, I listen. I had great gift giving is all around me right now. The holiday season, everybody's hitting it out of the park. Um, the my mother actually bought airline tickets for us. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. I don't know if you get much better than that. Um, my fiance bought me Jordan golf shoes.
Oh,
I
what
mean,
kind of what was the style? Like what Jordan was it?
gray Jordan ones.
Jordan ones? Oh, that's right. High
Yeah,
top
they're
or lows?
gray.
No, they're golf shoes.
Lows. They're
They're
lows.
lows. Yeah, I figured that
They
because
do make highs now. They make
I
highs
saw
too.
that. I
It's pretty
saw
wild.
that. Personally, I'm not a golf guy, but the golf Jordan ones and stuff are become like the golf Jordans in general just become very popular nowadays. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I would collect some of those just so that way I can resell them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
These are gonna get worn quite a bit. Quite a bit.
yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Hopefully more next year than last year.
I
Not
personally have
enough.
also
Not enough
I
rounds.
personally also treated myself to a pair of Jordan 11s, so I'm waiting
Nice.
for those to come in. So I mean, so I can rock those out. They're white and blue. They're the ones that came out a couple weeks ago. So I gotta wear
Yeah, I
them.
saw those. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta wear them later on when it's warmer outside and not wet. And yeah, I'm not doing it. But I'm very
See,
happy with my flat top and my Blackstone. I can't wait to cook on that bad boy.
yeah. Some of you may have heard here or there. I do work in food service a lot,
Hmm.
and that's kind of been my gig for most of my. You know, what my go to right now in the kitchen is Jordan 11 Comforts with the
Oh yeah,
they have that patent leather toe, wipes right
yeah.
off if you spill something on it. I love them. Now, all that said, I did not get everything I wanted for Christmas. There's one thing I did not get that I really, really want. I need Mike Brown to get Jamar Chase a contract. All right, welcome back to Running Through the Jungle. Once again, I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your host, Justin Lacey. What to do, Justin?
Man, ready to go into the rest of the season. Just finish out these last couple of weeks. Just and then it's evaluation time.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I want to follow up while we do have the like, subscribe, rate, review, and share going on in the bottom here. If you're watching this on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, please share us, please comment, please rate and review. That's how we get our algorithms up. That's how we get you more content. Chase Brown, you gave
Yes.
him the game ball against the Browns. I got a few stats here.
Hmm.
Chase Brown's 923 rushing yards. He's 77 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards. Do you know when he got his first start?
Let's see. I got his first start. Was it after week 7?
Week 9.
Yeah, yeah. I know
Week
he
9.
didn't play the first time against Cleveland. I mean, he did, but Zach Moss was still there. We had a bye week in week 8, or was that the Eagles game? Well, I know, yeah, the Eagles game was week 8.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we lost that game pretty bludgeoningly. And I think,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, yeah, then we got our first win against the Raiders at home. The first home win against the Raiders, yeah. And I remember he was the part of that, big part of that. Yeah, week 9. That makes sense. That's terrible.
So started at week 9, and he's going to hit 1,000 yards, barring anything crazy happening. I will have this. This will be teed up. Afton, don't let the cat out of the bag here. But I'm driving our homies overtime on Friday night, and one of the things I want to talk about is there's a lot of bloviating happens over there. One of my esteemed colleagues loves to share a bunch of opinions, and every once in a while, some of them are right. Most of them are wrong, though. But when he gets factual information wrong, that's when I got to check him a little bit. So there's been why we let Joe Mixon go? Why blah, blah, blah. We only got a 7th round draft choice for him, and we saved money we didn't spend, and blah, 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 blah. Well, the money that we saved on him this year, we can actually roll into next year. So if we do, let's say, extend a Jamar Chase, there's about $7 million that'll go into that extra cap money next year. You can just write him on his bonus check. That's $7 million. You just give him. So there are some benefits to it. But let's talk about Joe Mixon. Have a pretty good year over in Houston. He's at 967 yards rushing versus 923 for Chase Brown. Joe Mixon, 4.2 yards a carry. Do you know where Chase Brown is?
4.4, if I'm not mistaken.
4.4. On the north side of 4.4 as well. 1,258 total yards for Joe Mixon, 1,259 total yards for Chase Brown, 12 touchdowns for Joe Mixon, 11 touchdowns for Chase Brown. Now, I don't think that's where the team went wrong.
No, it's not where the team went wrong. And actually, for all the talk about the divide and conquer of the fan base, you got people that's like phrased as Mixon cutters on social media, and then you also got people that's phrased as Mixon lovers. The Mixon lovers and Mixon cutters, almost like it was just like this big hate fest. And I was just like, can we just not appreciate them both? We can appreciate what one has done for us over the last few years, since his whole entire career with the Bengals. But we know that there was a point where it felt like that the offense was kind of outgrowing him, and there was a period where we needed to move on. How the Bengals
good back, not a great fit for Zach Taylor's system.
Exactly, and that's no fault to his own and whatnot. That's just Joe Mixon was just a certain style. Now, I personally would have loved to see the Bengals keep him, but at the same time, even if you were but the Bengals coach staff has not shown the wheelhouse and the willpower to be able to insert the next guy as the starting lineup. You already see them having a hard time doing that with Sam Hubbard. Trying to imagine that conversation, that honest conversation that I talked about with Sam Hubbard in the reaction show. Imagine that honest conversation that needed to be had with Joe Mixon in that situation. It was just not going to work under this coaching staff. So the best way to go was just to move on from him. They initially cut him, but they found him a better place to where he can be traded to. They gave him a long-term contract, a 3-year deal, $27 million in Houston, and he was set up. He didn't have to basically just wait and hope and pray that his opportunity was going to come, even though we knew it was going to come eventually if he was just a regular free agent. But the Bengals looked out for him on his way out, and that's what you do appreciate. Look, even though fans probably hated it and the Mixon lovers despised the front office for that because they saw him going off early and we wasn't able to run the ball early. It was just this deviating perceptive that the Bengals messed up. They got it wrong. And now look, you're finally seeing the fruits of Chase Brown's labor. And it was like, no, the front office didn't get it wrong. Actually, the front office the front office got it right this entire time. It was the coaching decisions that to sit them early. They got that wrong. Thinking that Zach Moss was going to be the bell cow back was the wrong decision because he's never shown that he was a bell cow back to begin with. He was good in pinch and hit duties and whatnot, but the Bengals got it right. They got it right, and I wish that fans would just be more appreciative. Sometimes I get it when losing happens more than winning. We like to just shame the front office for everything that we do, but this is not one of those times. This is not one of those times. I really appreciate that the Bengals saw the opportunity to be able to make him the guy, even though it took Zach Moss to get hurt.
Yep.
But Chase Brown being the bell cow back, and he's proven that he can withstand the punishment and do more than what you think. So now it's building around Chase Brown. Now that's what you can look forward to.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and this is. I just wanted to give Chase Brown some flowers there. That's
Hell
not
yeah.
poo-pooing on Joe Mixon. He's having a pretty good year. Houston's having a down season. They've had a lot of injuries, offensive line, and that's really where they've had some issues. But back to the Bengals, I feel like we talked about it on a defensive line. We talked about it on defensive backs. Now we're talking about it at running back. It seems like this staff, for whatever reason, would rather live with a 6.5 or a 7 that's a proven asset that's a veteran pro, and just say, you know what, hey, we got a C or D grade here, 6.5, 7, rather than seeing what they got in young talented players. It's
Mm-hmm.
baffling to me. Unless it's a Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, which those guys, I mean, you're talking about generational talent, right?
Right, right,
If it's not a generational talent, we're going to play this guy, this Sam Hovers. We're going to play that,
right,
whatever. At some point in time, you got to start giving the young kid. This is a young man's game, man, especially at running
right.
back, for crying out
Mm-hmm.
loud. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. We got a Broncos matchup, 4:30 on Saturday. I'm kind of digging the Saturday game. I don't know. Some people have mixed
I
emotions
am
about it.
too.
I know some people have mixed emotions about it. I'm digging it. 4:30 on Saturday. I'll be pulled up watching the Broncos coming to Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites here,
Mm-hmm. Right,
but there are some concerns, right, Joe?
right.
Let's see. Bo Nix has been playing better than we expected. Their defense has some definite stars on it and has been playing well. But I'm gonna kick it over to you, Justin. What's your biggest concerns here for the matchup with the Broncos?
Man, this 2024 Broncos team reminds me so much of the 2011 Bengals. Remember Andy Dalton and AJ Green was kind of bursting onto the scene a bit. They started off nice and whatnot. Then they cooled off later on, but they still found themselves to be in the playoffs as a 6 seed, and then they ended up losing that first round game. But you appreciate the young nucleus of what that young Bengals team was. That's exactly how I look at this Denver Broncos team, with the anticipation that they're probably going to overexceed a little bit of those expectations. They got a big matchup coming against us, and my number one concern for me is, I get it. Bo Nix is playing good football, whatnot. It is going to be the true test for this defense to finally go against a competent and a little bit more potent off. They get another shot at this. The Denver Broncos were the best team remaining on the Bengals schedule. That's not the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers were that strong of an opponent, and you're seeing that unfold now. So the defense is going to have his heels trapped underneath them a little bit with this quick dink and dunk passing, quick, like, moving out of the pocket offense. Bo Nix, he does remind me of 2011 Andy Dalton. He really does. I get it. Andy Dalton has a punchline name attached to his name nowadays, but Andy Dalton was really good for a stretching period of time early in his career. And in the rookie season, Andy Dalton, we all thought that we found our franchise guy, especially coming on the heels off of Carson Palmer and his massive trade demands. But Bo Nix really does feel like that he sort of found his rhythm. Like, he's a rhythmic passer. He can also make plays moving out of the backfield, moving out of the pocket, and then just throwing some, like, quick short throws to Cortland Sutton and whatnot. But that's a concern for me, is that the defense got to be able to stop a rhythmic, potent offense, and that can score on you, and they're going to get
Mhm.
better as Sean Payton progresses throughout the rest of his tenure with the Broncos. But my ultimate concern for me personally is on the other side of the ball. Um, Nick Benito is also playing really lights out football, and he's got 11 and a half sacks and a few forced fumbles and whatnot in the season. He's been all over the place for that team. And the protection issues that the Bengals have, I don't know how they block this dude who can rush from both ends and up the middle. And we hoping that Orlando Brown Jr. plays, understanding it's a big game. But man, I'm not gonna rely on hope, with that, because that's not a strategy. But Patrick
Eh,
Surtain is another guy that scares me a little bit too, just because he is one of the very few guys that you can go lock that he can travel with any number one corner. I'm not saying that he'll have the greatest day of all time. You can still beat him, but if our hope is for Jamar Chase to finish the season with the Triple Crown award, Patrick Surtain is not somebody that I want to go against on a regular basis. Now, they might travel him with T. Higgins more and then try to bracket coverage Jamar Chase like a lot of people have been doing this year. But it is going to be interesting to watch that matchup as the game unfolds.
Yeah, definitely some issues there. I will say this: Orlando Brown Jr. We will know probably end of day um, how he's going to react because yesterday was his first full practice. So if he's full practice again back to back days,
Hmm.
then probably a good sign.
Right.
If that that knee starts tweaking at him again, then it might be a bad sign if he's back to limited practice today. So we'll see there. Um, Tim Lyons here, number one sack defense with 51. That gets my biggest matchup concerns here is this. They've given up the fourth fewest, the Broncos, that is, has given up the fourth fewest rushing yards so far this season going into this week. And you accompany that with their ability to get after the pass rusher. I mean, we got to figure out what's got to give there. I think we still have to run the ball enough that we keep them off balance. So against this defense, can we get some rushing yards? Can we get Chase Brown moving so that they can't just pin their ears back and go after us? That's going to be a big one. Also, I think it's big for our defense to start off and play well early so that we
Hmm.
don't get behind. If we get behind and then we start having to, they expect that the throwing the ball more and throwing the ball more, then we have issues again. So that's my two biggest concerns is getting behind early and keeping that pass rush at bay by being able to run the ball. Huge problems. Biggie Bronco, we got a resident Bronco fan here in the building. Says Nick Benito should win the Defensive Player of the Year. He's got a good case for it for sure. Um, what we got here? The last time Jamar Chase went up against PSU, one catch for 3 yards. Listen, man,
Don't put too much stock into that because that was
he's
first of all, that was a low scoring slugfest game. Nobody was doing anything great on offense that day. Don't let that fool you. Like I said, both teams are different this times around, but Joe Burrow was having a putrid protection. I like the Bengals offensive line this time around more than that offensive line, and they won the game in Mile High. You're in Cincinnati this time. Plays are made in Cincinnati, and it's going to be a little bit of a different showing here. Now, I think that the Broncos can pose a lot of different challenges and stuff, and they can surely win this game. But nonetheless, don't put too much stock into that one catch for 3 yards in that 21 matchup in Denver that Patrick because he wasn't really traveling with Jamar that whole entire game for real.
well, and that's the other part. Like, I don't know that Patrick Surtain is a beast, right?
He is. He's great.
I he's great, but do I look at him like, all right, should he follow Jamar Chase, or do we bracket Jamar Chase and let him follow T?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like you pick your poison how you think, but this is why T. Higgins is the real X factor in this game, and we'll get to the predictions later. But T. Higgins is the guy that can really kind of help neutralize the coverage of how Jamar Chase is. This is why you need both of them here
Mm-hmm.
because they show the value for one another. Like Pittsburgh, They try to travel Joey Porter Jr., who's also a really good corner on T, and then they bracketed Jamar. It did not work. Okay. Now the Bengals still lost the game, but because the defense was putridly bad, obviously. But the Bengals offense was still cutting up the Steelers defense, and they have better pieces, in my opinion, overall than what the Broncos have. Now the Broncos have a better cornerback player in Patrick Surtain Jr. Nick Benito is not TJ Watt, even though he's having a better sack season than TJ Watt. He's also not better than Cam Hayward, even though I like Cam Hayward. And they also got a number of good pieces as well, too. I'm looking at Jonathan Franklin Myers. I like him. Oh, what's his name? They got. Oh, I didn't know they had Riley Moss over there. That's awesome. Yeah, they got some pretty solid pieces on the defensive side, but realistically, their biggest strength to me is their offense and their cup, like how they are able to scheme an offense. I really like their offensive line. Like Garrett Bowles, he's that left tackle that I wish we had, for the longest time. Like, I'm happy with Orlando Brown Jr. now, but Garrett Bowles is just that dude, man, for real. Like, I really like him. But nonetheless, bro, this is going to be a really good. This is going to be a really good, interesting matchup for the Bengals. The Denver Broncos can pose a number of threats because it's not a lot of household names on this Broncos team this time around. But this is a Sean Payton led Broncos team, and that's how and he's increased much like Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. that Sean Payton has kind of maximizing the value of what this Denver Broncos roster is, and that's why you're seeing them get these wins. And I'm here for it, man. I like what they're doing over there, and yeah, we're going to be in for a big slugfest with them.
Tim says Broncos are 10th in points per game on offense and 8th in the red zone. They're 11th in touchdowns score with 39. The Bengals are 4th with 52. The Detroit Lions lead with 61 touchdowns and the Ravens 60 touchdowns. That kind of, to me, gives you efficiencies and potent scoring and all those kind of things. Like, I think we have an edge here offensively versus their offense. The key to me is going to be defense, right?
Right.
So neither their offensive rush yards or their passing yards are in the top half of the league. They're right in the middle to, like somewhere in that 14 to 19 ranking on both of those stats. So because of that, my question is, they run a lot of guys in and running back and running back by committee here. Can our defense look who they've been playing better against some lesser products on the field, some worse offense? This is a step up from the offenses that we've been playing really good defense against, but it's still not a great offense in my mind. Right. Can we be a good defense? Not great. Can we be a good defense here? The opportunity here is, to me, the opportunity for us to go against this team and show that we can play good defense against good teams. Right. So that's my biggest opportunity here. It's for this defense. It's for Lou Anarumo to, I don't know if I'm going to say save his job here, although he may actually be doing that right now because of just what our history is as a franchise. We don't fire people. Or is he, entertaining the rest of the league here? I don't know. So that's my opportunity. What's your matchup opportunity here with this the Broncos-Bengals matchup?
I'm right there with you as far as that being a matchup opportunity. Look, the defense is playing stout pretty much the last few weeks, and that's because of the competition that they've been going against. Cooper Rush against Dallas, Will Levis against the Tennessee Titans and Mason Rudolph, and then obviously DTR with the Browns. But at the end of the day, I still look back of what if they had their full-fledged starting quarterbacks. Those games probably would have looked a lot differently. We're still probably going to look at it like, man, we might still be having the same concerns. But this is the opportunity for you to shake off that vision of this bad defense going against a quality starter. I know he's a rookie, but he's not been playing like a rookie. Bo Nix has been playing really good. Again, we got to stop looking at this from, oh, well, he doesn't really have that much experience. He hasn't really seen everything what the league is throwing him. Stop all of that, man. This Broncos offense is really good, okay? I really like what they've been doing. They've been growing all season long. Bo Nix, honestly, in my opinion, should be the number one leaderboard as far as Rookie of the Year recipient. We know that's probably going to go to Jayden Daniels at this point because of his performance against the Eagles.
But I would give it to Brock Bowers, but that's just me.
Oh, Brock Bowers. Yeah, I forgot about Brock Bowers. But Bo Nix is that guy that can really kind of stake his claim, especially if he performs up and out throws against Joe Burrow. You might see him do that. But this is an opportunity for the defense to really show that we are growing together. We do understand. We do get it. We're not going to be doing this stupid missed assignment gaps and all that stuff. We're going to lock in and hone in on some of those guys. We're not going to let their best guys beat us. They had that perfect opportunity to do that. But the other side of the ball for the Bengals offense is that, look, I get it. As much glowing things as I've said about this Broncos defense, as far as like Nick Benito, Patrick Surtain, and whatnot, the Bengals offense are very good. It's very good. It's so strong. Like, there's a reason why we've been saying that we're a top 5 offense all season long. If Jameis Winston can hang up almost 500 yards, passing yards of offense on this Broncos defense, I'm sure Joe Burrow can do somewhat similarly close to that, even though there's going to be a lot of challenges going to be thrown his way. I understand that I don't really put too much stock into the Broncos Chargers matchup, even though I'm seeing that the Chargers won that game, but it just felt like to me that as that game against the Chargers unfolded, really the rest was really kind of handing the Chargers that have, and that's kind of like how they won the game. Realistically, I still felt like that the Broncos defense kind of like kept them at bay. But again, still, coaching matters. Jim Harbaugh was able to coach them up to a standard level. I think that this is going to be the matchup opportunity. Can Zach Taylor finally show that he can be one of the better coaches in the AFC? It's going to be tough because Sean Payton has a resume following that Super Bowl with the Saints and all that. He has a resume. He's shown that he has history of just putting together a great product out there. But at the end of the day, man, I'm still taking Sean Payton over Zach Taylor. But Zach Taylor can enter a conversation to where I can be a really good coach in this league too, still. But at the same time, bro, the opportunity is with the Bengals offense and being able to score at a high level against this Broncos defense. You just got to overcome their pass rush, I should say. And don't get stuck on just trying to find Jamar Chase if you know he's going to be either double covered or just locked down playing great defense on from Patrick Surtain Jr.
Yeah, listen, their offense, like you said, their offense has been I think one of the better surprises of this season. Bo
Mm-hmm.
Nix, a great value for where they picked him up at. A lot of people thought they went a little bit too early in the draft picking him up. And
Yeah.
so far, Sean Payton's been able to really show that, he knew he wanted a different guy, and he got his guy, and he's been playing well with them. They're very Cortland Sutton heavy. Sutton's almost got 1,000 yards receiving right now. No one else on their team has 400. So he's over doubled everybody. Now, I mean, you could say the same thing for probably Jamar Chase, but you're talking about a guy who's got 1,500 yards. That's a little bit different. I do think that they that's the key too. In my point, in my mind, is making sure that make somebody else beat you. Don't let
Right.
Courtland Sutton beat you. Period. But it's going to be a tough matchup. I expect it to be a good game. Leads us to our break here before we get into our predictions and our offensive game balls. Because this is going to be a tough prediction. I know we got one guy over here that thinks we're going to get boat raced. Biggie Bronco over here. But I don't know. I don't know if we're all going to see it that way. We're going to take a quick break, though. We're going to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back after these messages with our predictions for this game against the Broncos. All right, welcome back to Runnin Thru the Jungle. Please, if you have not hit that like, that subscribe, share, rate, review, make some comments. They always help us. And we'll give you these predictions now for this Broncos Bengals matchup. Who are you predicting for your offensive game ball, Mr. Lacey?
This for the home finale. This is going to be a tough one, man, because I can literally give it to everybody. But for the degree of opportunity that's going to be facing Jamar Chase's way with the stout cornerback one and Patrick Surtain Jr., I think that Jamar Chase will show he's truly special, and then why he is in the conversation of among the elite wide receivers of all time. I think he's going to be my prediction for the offensive game ball recipient. I think that he finishes the day with a couple of scores. He gets over the 100-yard mark and further separates himself for the Triple Crown winner, because that Week 18 matchup at Pittsburgh is going to come with a lot of problems in Heinz Field or Acrisure Stadium. But you're at home. It's a finale. The Bengals typically perform really well in their home finales. I know Tim said Brown game ball. Look, I like Chase Brown too in this game, but at the same time, he is going to be going against a much more stiffer competition with the Broncos D line. But I think that even the degree of difficulty that Jamar Chase is going to face in this game, I'm going to go with him versus T. Higgins, even though T. Higgins is the X factor that can create the value more. I think Jamar is going to show that he's truly special.
All right, I dig it. Listen, your Biggie Bronco over here said they just put 3 guys on him and he still makes a play. I'm assuming he means Courtland Sutton. They've got they've got Riley Moss back, Big E. What else we got over here? He's done it against better defenses. Him being Bo Nix and lit them up, not lift. I think that was a little bit of a autocorrect. So I had to go back and look because of all the things Biggie Broncos saying. The Broncos are 9-6. I thought for some reason that maybe they were 13 and 2. The way Biggie
I
Broncos been
know, right?
over here talking.
He's talking spicy in the comments, man.
Very
He's
spicy.
blowing over
Very
his team.
spicy. Very spicy. Listen, I think the Broncos on the right path. I think the Bo Nix, they look like they've got their guy. Their defense, they build on their really nice. Riley Moss was a great pickup with and great value with Patrick Surtain. Benito looks great. They've got some guys over there. I think they get another play toy, maybe a really good tight end or another wide receiver this offseason for Bo Nix. I think they're on the right path. I think Sean Payton's a very good coach. I think we're seeing that come to fruition. I think the best guy on the field, though, and you make a big argument for Jamar Chase, right? The most important and the best guy on the field is Joe Burrow.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that you're going to see in this game, he's going to get sacked. It is what it is. He's going to hold on to the ball, try to make plays. They have a great pass rush. I think that he is going to get out of some Houdini moments like he has over the past several weeks. And I think he's going to spread the ball around. I think you're going to see some Gesicki. I think you're going to see some Yoshi. I think you're going to see Jamar, both Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. So because of that, I'm giving my nod here for offensive game ball to Joe Burrow. I think he spreads around the wealth. I think he has over 300 yards and 3 tutties.
Yeah, that's a good prediction because, like I said, even in the last matchup these two faced in 21, I mean, Biggie Bronco, I know he talking spicy in the comments, but I know he was hella frustrated because Joe Burrow was getting all out of all those pressure that should have been sacks that weren't sacks, and he was just making plays. Even though in a low-scoring game and the slugfest type of performance, I can see why, I can see why you went the direction of Joe Burrow. Because again, I wanted to go that direction too, but at the same time, I'm also giving respect where respect is due with their best guys. And I think that Jamar is also just kind of like just that impactful for real. Like people think that they know how to game plan for Jamar, but they haven't seen this version of Jamar, and he's been explosive since he's entered the league. I just think that Jamar is in for a big game as well too, just like Joe could be as well.
All right, who you got for your defensive game ball, my man?
Look, I can't believe I'm about to say this because he's been getting criticized for over the first 13 weeks of the season, but he's come on kind of late. Again, against bad offenses, but the opportunity does lie in itself that if this defense truly has turned the corner and it really starts with the play of this guy, and quite frankly, my defensive game ball predictions, Geno Stone. I think that he probably nails another interception. I think that he probably gets it. Again, it wasn't the pick that he got last week that really kind of made me think, oh my gosh, even though that was a nice interception off of a deflected pass, but it was his pressure that caused the interception forced on DTR to Jordan Battle. It was his pressure. He got there quick. Otherwise, it would have been a sack, forced fumble, whatever. I think Geno Stone is finally feeling comfortable here in Cincy. It doesn't feel like that the scheme is no longer too complex. It feels simplified, and you're starting to see him settle in. The interception against Will Levis in the Titans game. Yes, Will Levis threw a bunch of bad balls, but that interception that Geno Stone made was a great interception. I haven't seen the safety run that fast since Jesse Bates when it came to turnovers. We're finally starting to see it a little bit here. And it's starting to make me feel like that, okay, if he has a couple more good games to close out the season, I would not be mad if the Bengals ought to keep him for his second year because he signed a 2-year deal. I would not be mad if the Bengals decide to keep him. But I can't believe I'm saying that because I've been terrorizing this dude for the first 13 weeks of the season and haven't been fooled by his play. And to an extent, I'm still not fooled by this dude's play. But I'm predicting that he sustains this level of play against this offense. Again, the Broncos are the best team remaining of the last stretch of the season. It's not Pittsburgh. Sorry, we already seen Baltimore twice. We already played Kansas City. the Broncos were the best team remaining on the schedule to the final 5 weeks of the season. I'm going to go with Geno Stone. He's my prediction, even though I know I can easily say Trey Hendrickson, but that's a cop-out answer, and I'm not going to do that today.
It's a weird week for me on Game Ball. I'm gonna be honest with you, because over the past couple of weeks, we've seen Lou Anarumo dialing up some more blitzes. Tim takes Mike Hilton as his defensive game ball prediction. I get that because you've seen him be used more as a Swiss Army knife. You've seen a lot more sets where there's 3 safeties in there, especially with Logan Wilson missing time. I am also going a little bit off of my beaten path here. I'm going to run it back. Give me Jordan Battle. I do think that it's key that we get a turnover. I think Jordan Battle gives a little bit more of, he can make a pick. He can also force a fumble. He's a little bit more violent of a player. I like him to do that. So I'm going to go Jordan Battle here. My first inclination was to go Joseph Ossai. I think the Broncos will do a good job against Trey Hendrickson and be a focal point for him. So I thought maybe Ossai has missed some practice this week with an illness. So will he be himself? We'll see. But I'm gonna because of that, I'm gonna go from Ossai over to taking Jordan Battle. Biggie Bronco, I do want to get his words up here. He said, I don't think we're going to boat race you, but I do think that we'll win the game, Denver, by 3. Fair. Denver's got a good shot to win this game.
They certainly do.
It's definitely, to me, it's a coin toss, right? When you look at spreads, normally they give 3 points to the home team. So the Bengals are favored by 3.5. So Vegas pretty much thinks this is a neutral game, coin toss.
Right.
All right. Score predictions. Big, bad, bold score predictions. We got our boy Tim Lyons already got his in 34-31. Bengals. All right, Tim. We're writing it down. Justin, do you agree with him?
Man, I do think the Bengals are going to go over 30 in this game, but I also think that the Broncos are going to be right there as well, too. I'm going to go 35-30 in this game. I think that both defense are going to be susceptible to being able to stop any other team's offensive reluctantly or whatever. But the Bengals haven't had a feel-good win all year. And under the Joe Burrow era, they've had at least one. I think this is the game where they finally get that off their back and win this one. It's the home finale. As I said before, they usually play well in home finales. They have a really astounding record in their final home game of the season, of the regular season. And I think that they're due for a big win against a quality opponent such as Denver. Joe Burrow, if he's ever going to enter in any sort of MVP conversations, he has to win these final 2 games, number one, but he also has to go in the playoffs and probably win a playoff game at this point. But you need to win this game because, look, I'm not one of those fans that is crying about why is Joe Burrow not being mentioned in the MVP conversation. I'm not. He's having a great statistical season, Joe Burrow is. But because he hasn't had that quality win, that's the reason for why he's not being in that conversation. This could be one of them. But again, you've already had your opportunities. They've gone. But I think this is the one that they finally get it to where the Bengals fans can be able to point to, like, hey, you remember when the Broncos came here? They were searching for a win in the playoff contention, whatever. I think this is the win, okay? But I also think that the Broncos are going to show out as well too. Again, that team is really good, in my opinion, and I think that they can give somebody a fit in the playoffs, depending on who they see. You know, that's the seeding is yet to be determined. But 35-30 is my final score that I'm going to predict. Obviously, I'm going to hope for an even bigger margin of victory, but man, I got to remain humble. And I can also see the other way, the toss-up. 30-27 3-point win for the Broncos. I can see that as well, too. But I'm predicting my Bengals to win for the final home game of the season.
You know what? I'm predicting the Bengals to win, too. I, unusually, am going to be the least amount of points on our predictions. Normally, I'm way up there. But I actually think there's going to be a little more defensive play. It's unusually warm in Cincinnati this weekend, but there is going to be some rain. I think that maybe that leads to a turnover or 2. I'm going to go 27-20 Bengals.
27-20.
27-20.
That's pretty solid.
Still some points scored, but I think it's gonna be 27-20. That's gonna be my final answer. Good stuff. Biggie Bronco does have something I want to close this out with here. He says, so what do you think about old Russell Wilson finally coming back to work? A gent, Pittsburgh with all of his sacks. Hey, I'm going 3 and out at defense is suffering for it now. So the synopsis here is Russell Wilson's fell back in line to where we thought Russell Wilson was going to be. After thinks he's the biggest problem with the offense. I don't know. I think Russ is what we thought he was at this point in time. He's a guy that's not going to take too many chances except throwing some deep balls, maybe to Pickens. But yeah, I mean, like he's a game manager at this point in time in his career, and when he tries to show out and do some of the magical running out of the pocket and extending plays that he used to, he puts the football down on the ground and fumbles it. You know what I mean? Like that whole one hand football on the ground, and I don't know.
I just think that Pittsburgh peaked too early. I think that Russell Wilson was crowned way too soon. Look, I think that it was nice to see him get that little swagger back a little bit as they were going through their winning streak. But most of the games this season were really give me wins going against terrible teams. And Mike Tomlin has a history of beating teams that he knows he should beat. But this is the toughest stretch of the toughest stretch of the schedule for them. And you're seeing that when he goes against another high quality, high class quarterback, he just doesn't pull those games out. Now, Joe Burrow was probably the one exception to the rule by virtue of the Bengals having a horrible defense. But it's not like that Russ was just that lightning bolt impressive like he used to be. It was the Bengals defense was just that bad. And you're starting to see that everybody was fooled by that down the stretch where most of the Bengals fans was not, just because we knew what our defenses was. I think Pittsburgh is still going to give a team fits in the playoffs, but it looks like that they're going to probably go on a road and maybe going against Baltimore for round 3 of Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, but this time it's in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium for round 1 in the playoffs. I still think they'll probably give another team a fit, but at the end of the day, you see that this is their ceiling. They've kind of reached their ceiling a little bit there. I thought that they had a great chance to beat Kansas City on Christmas Day. I mean, I was kind of like thinking that they were going to be the team that in a clash of the Dark Magic Bowl, they were going to shell shock Kansas City and give them their second loss. But man, you got to tip your hat to Kansas City, man. They're 15-1 on the year now, and probably going to go maybe rest their starters for against the Broncos, and that'll officially put the nail in the coffin in the Bengals playoff folks. But at the end of the day, man, you got to tip your cap to what Kansas City has done more suspectly than what Pittsburgh is. Just because I feel like Pittsburgh in any other scenario going against other teams, they probably would have won that game at home, But I just think that the ceiling has been reached for the Steelers.
My DraftKings account is appreciative of the fact that I did not listen to all that noise about Steelers. To me, Big E with Russ coming in and playing for the Steelers, whatever, to me, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When to get there, but it was there.
When it came into the season and they said, that Vegas had the futures bet for the over-under on total wins for the Steelers this year at 8.5. I immediately took that bet. I cashed that bet already. I said they're going to win probably 10, maybe 9. And here we are. They've got 10 with one more game to win. So now they're going to be at probably 10, maybe 11. That's where they're at. Hopefully not 11, because that means they beat the Bengals the last week of the season, but I digress from that. Yes, Tim Lyons, well said. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Don't leave those people out, Tim. Come on, be inclusive. Running Through the Jungle is a very inclusive podcast. Let's go. Happy holidays to everybody. Justin, any final words before we get out of here? Wrap up this show?
No. The only thing I just want to wish also as well too. Merry Christmas. Hope everybody was able to get everything they wanted for, their hearts was desired for. Not even just gift giving wise, but spending time with close relationships with friends and family. And as we enter in the new year, let's just look to be even better than we were the year before.
All right. Well said. Happy holidays to everybody. And to Mike Brown, get Jamar Chase that contract.